Hello guys! I am so happy to see you all back again. Today I am here with another story, another lesson, another exciting journey to a new life. Stories are such a great way to travel. If you wish to travel to a desert, the middle of an ocean, a sea, or a headland, all is possible with the help of a good book. What we will be reading today is going to take us to a clearing in the sky. Yes, that's the name of the story. Let us see what has it got in store for us. "This is the way, Jess," said my father, pointing with his cane across the deep valley below us. "I want to show you something you have not seen for many years. Isn't it too hot for you to do much walking?" I wiped the streams of sweat from my face to keep them from stinging my eyes. I did not want to go with him. I had just finished walking a half-mile uphill from my home to his. I had carried a basket of dishes to Mom. There were 2 slips in the road and I could not drive my car. And I knew how hot it was. It was 97 in the shade. I knew that from January until April, my father had gone to 8 different doctors. One of the doctors had told him not to walk the length of a city block. He told my father to get a taxi to take him home. But my father walked home 5 miles across the mountain and told Mom what the doctor had said. 40 years ago, a doctor had told him the same thing. And he had lived to raise a family of 5 children. He had done as much hard work in those years as any man. I could not protest to him now. He had made up his mind. When he made up his mind to do a thing, he would do it if he had to crawl. He did not care if it was 97 in the shade or 16 below zero. I wiped more sweat from my face as I followed him down the little path between the pasture and the meadow. Suddenly, he stopped at the edge of the meadow, took his pocket knife from his pocket and cut a wisp of alfalfa. He held it up between him and the sun. "Look at this, Jess," he bragged. "Did you ever see better alfalfa grow out of the earth?" "It's the best looking hay I've ever seen any place," I said. "I've not seen better looking alfalfa even in the little sandy river bottoms. When I bought this little farm, everybody around here said I would end up with my family at the country poor farm if I tried to make a living here." He bragged again. "It took me 30 years to improve these old worn-out acres to make them do this." "I like these woods, Jess," my father said. "Remember when we used to come here to hunt for squirrels? Remember when we sat beneath these hickories and the squirrels threw green hickory shells down at us? The morning wind just at the break of day in August was so good to breathe. I can't forget those days. And in October, when the rabbits were ripe and the frosts had come and the hickory leaves had turned yellow, and when the October winds blew, they rustled the big leaves from the trees, and they fell like light yellow raindrops to the ground. Remember," he said, looking at me with his pale blue eyes, "how our hounds, Rags and Scout, would make the rabbits circle? These were good days, Jess. That's why I remember this mountain." "Is that what you wanted to show me?" I asked. "Oh, no. he said, as he began to climb the second bluff that lifted abruptly from the flat toward the sky. The pines on top of the mountain above us looked as if the fingers of their long bows were founding the substance of a white cloud. Whatever my father wanted me to see was on top of the highest point of my farm. And with the exception of the last 3 years, I had been over this point many times. I had never seen anything extraordinary upon this point of rugged land. I had seen the beauty of many wildflowers, a few rock cliffs, and many species of hard and softwood trees. "Why do you take the path straight up the point?" I asked. "Look at the other paths. What are they doing here?" Within the distance of a few yards, several paths left the main path and circled around the slope, gradually climbing the mountain. "All paths go to the same place," he answered. "Then why do you take the steep one?" I asked. "I will explain later," he spoke with half breaths. He rested a minute to catch his second wind while I managed to stand only the path by holding to a little sapling, because it was too steep for my feet to hold unless I braced myself. Then my father started to move slowly up the path again, supporting himself with his cane. I followed at his heels. Just a few steps in front of him, a fox squirrel crossed the path and ran up a hickory tree. "See that, Jess?" he shouted. "Yes, I did," I answered. "That brings back something to me," he said. "Brings back the old days to see a fox squirrel, but this won't bring back as much as something I'm going to show you." My curiosity has aroused. I thought he had found a new kind of wild grass, or an unfamiliar herb, or a new kind of tree. For I remembered the time he had found a coffee tree in our woods. It is, as far as I know, the only one of its kind growing in our country. Only twice did my father stop to wipe the sweat from his eyes as I climbed the second steep bluff towards the fingers of the pines. We reached the limbless trunks of these tall, straight pines, whose branches reached toward the blue depth of the sky, or the white cloud was now gone. I saw clearing, a small clearing of not more than 3/4 of an acre, in the heart of this wilderness, right on the mountain top. That must be very tiring. Climbing a cliff, and that too, with a weak heart, is certainly an act of extraordinary courage. What does the old man wish to show his son by bringing him to a clearing so high? Let us find out in the next part of the story.